Spookily, our keynote speaker, how many of you were at the keynote this morning with Daniel Hume? Brilliant. So effectively what he did was he queued up this session for us and dropped a few bombs along the way. But I think there's some interesting things going on with regards to AI, particularly in respect to learning. One of the things, I don't know if you follow Donald Clark's Global Sentiment Survey, which he does every year. AI was up at number 2 last year. This year for 2020, AI has dropped down to number 5. So I don't know if that has any particular significance, but then I don't know again if any of you saw the Emerald Works report that was launched yesterday. And they've done a section on learning leaders' use of digital learning tools for the past 3 years. And so artificial intelligence tools in 2018 were hitting 9%. In 2019, they were hitting 14%. And 2020, hitting 16%. So it is on the way up, but it's not necessarily making huge leaps and bounds. So there's possibly something in that, which I'm sure these guys will expand on for us. Daniel Hume made some quite controversial, I thought, statements yesterday, amongst them being, automation by definition is stupid. Automation is not AI. Discuss. No companies, this is the one I'm really wanting to see what they've got to say. No companies are doing AI. He didn't say effectively, or he just said no companies are doing AI, which I thought was interesting. Neural networks are good at spotting patterns, but they're not good at making decisions. Now, he also touched on the use of AI in social spotting, particularly in China, and what's going on there in social rankings, which raised a whole lot of ethical concerns. And coincidentally, last week, the Committee on the Standards for Public Life released a report called Artificial Intelligence and Public Standards. And they had some quite interesting things to say about that, which I just want to share with you before I get out of the way. Artificial intelligence has the potential to revolutionize the delivery of public services, creating an opportunity for more innovative and efficient public service delivery. Machine learning in particular will transform the way decisions are made in areas as diverse as policing, health, welfare, transport, social care, and education. If correctly implemented, AI offers the possibility of improving public standards in some areas, but it poses a challenge to 3 principles in particular: openness, accountability, and objectivity. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of interest. There's a lot of debate and discussion going on around AI. We're here to talk about artificial intelligence in learning, and we've got 2 cracking speakers who are going to lead us through that. We've got Matt Wicks from the Virtual Forge. Bear with me while I just pull the bios up, all highlighted carefully. So Matt is the CEO, Technology and Innovation at the Virtual Forge. He started out as a developer. He's moved his way through front-end and back-end databases and then DevOps skills. He's built applications which required finesse, applications which require scale, and applications which require raw power. Love the sound of that. He's led teams of varying sizes across multiple languages and disciplines and mentored those willing and unwilling, and spoken many times at 3 continents at events. Still comes back to this. After all the things that got him started, there is nothing better than a problem you can get grips with and innovate around. Our other speaker is Francesco Mantovani. Francesco's a global leader in technology and innovation at Procter & Gamble. He's worked for the company in HR since 1988 and focused on learning since 2006. His partner works at Procter & Gamble as well in HR, and they've got 2 kids, 13 and 15, who apparently are both fluent in coaching, leadership, growth mindset, and answering direct questions with "it depends." He's co-founded a small publishing house called Future Fiction, which is focused on narratives on the next future of humanity and technology. Again, science fiction, something very close to my heart. Publishing works from authors in China, France, India, Spain, Latin America, and he thinks the future happens everywhere. Last but not least, he'd like me to point out he's Italian. I've no idea if that's an excuse or what that is, but I'm delighted. I've spent some time talking to both of these guys and helping them shape their presentations for this. I know you're in for a treat. So I'm going to shut up now and hand over to Matt Wicks.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, and thank you to everyone, as Niall says, for joining us on this last session today. So artificial intelligence, no one's doing it. The reality, I think, is lots of people are doing bits of it in lots of different ways. And just like how the internet started out, just like how the first cars came about, just like how the first planes came about, that's exactly how things need to start, with small steps and which lead you into bigger and bigger steps and to bigger and bigger, and understanding the bigger and bigger places that artificial intelligence can take place in your workflow with the people that you work with. So I want to focus particularly, a lot of time people focus on artificial intelligence and talk about things like how you can predict what somebody's grades are going to be, and I've actually done presentations in this very room about exactly that, or how you can use artificial intelligence to better judge the sentiment of the group. I've also done presentations on that. What I want to talk about today is some really practical things of how you can actually use machine learning and artificial intelligence in driving forward content which allows you to personalize to a greater or lesser extent the experience of learning and the response to that learning, and track that through a learner's pathway. So some of the challenges that we all face on a day-to-day basis are: how can we drive meaningful learning for you? How can we provide up-to-date resources that are easy to find? How can we understand what type of user is best suited to what type of learning? How can we maintain some control, because it's the Wild West out there? How can we keep up with no budget and less time? How can we do all of those things and do it while doing our day jobs as well? So the way that we describe this is as a perfect circle. So the idea is that content is perpetually added. But just like data, it's of no use unless you understand what that content is, and that content can be directed to the right people. And in order to do that, you need to have documentation that's self-documenting. So content that documents itself, that if you add in a video, you don't have to sit there and say, this video is about no. It actually documents itself as you add it. That it's easy for people to discover. Just like if you go onto Facebook and you want to find something, you search for it, you look for it, you find it, you have it driven towards you. It's content that should be peer-reviewed to improve targeting, whether that's automatic, contentious, or whether it's actually done by a curator of the data, of the content is true. But by being able to peer review and highlight things that are good or bad or recent or relevant or irrelevant, that's also really important. And it's part of a system which dynamically highlights gaps and targets users. We're probably not going to get too much onto that last piece over the course of today, but I'll go through. So I'm going to focus first of all on the first two pieces, where content is added and it's self-documenting, using tools that are out there. And part of what I wanted to do today is to talk about what we mean by content. So modern content, images, video, sound, all those are pretty self-explanatory. There's tons of it out there. There's tons of stuff that is being generated every nanosecond, all of which may be completely irrelevant, some of which may be relevant. There's ad hoc content that's generated, and that doesn't just mean from social media. It means from classroom sessions, from sessions like this, from conversations that you hear, from snippets of things you take a quick photo of. How do you generate all of that? And from just-in-time content, so stuff that's generated, as I say, by snapping something with your phone. But don't forget all the old stuff too. Because we've got all of these thousands and thousands and thousands of documents that are out there. We want to find out how we can use artificial intelligence and machine learning to bring those things in. The way it's done, many cloud providers are out there providing machine learning and artificial intelligence as a service, which provide the tools to allow you, with a minimum of experience, to be able to start to do this process. So I'm going to focus on AWS here, but similar tools exist in Google Cloud Azure as well. Anybody can sign up. There are free sign-ups for all of these services. You can sign up and you can play around with all of these services that I'm showing you here. Very few of these get very technical. You can, of course, and to make the most use of them, there's a technical layer on top of these, but I just want to show some of the things that's there. So just to kind of get everybody into the right space, and apologies to anybody who came last year. This particular slide, the next slide, is a repeat of last year. The rest isn't. This is something from Google, from Teachable Machine with google.com. This is basically a very good illustration of what we mean by machine learning. So this is a video. On the left, you see an extremely handsome fellow. On the right, some GIFs, and he is going to train by using different just going to press the video. Apologies. A small technical issue. Let me try that once more. Okay, so while I'm just restarting that one, the basic idea here is that you are able, by using a... No, it's not playing ball. Okay, I'll describe it to you. It's a really good video. And basically, the idea here is that by being able to have an object and holding up an object, and in the case of the first one, it's a banana. By holding up a banana and clicking the button train green, it will then train the machine that when you hold up a banana, it will show you the green picture. When you hold up a plant, train purple, it will show you the purple picture. When you hold up an orange and you train purple, it will hold up the purple, the orange picture. So effectively, what it's doing is it's taking lots of photographs of the guy on the left holding up an object, and then it's saying that it uses artificial intelligence to begin to scan the image, to recognize what it is, and then to play back something associated with it. So by the nature of that, you are then able to teach it that a banana shows a green GIF, a plant shows a purple GIF, and an orange shows an orange GIF, which is actually a real shame this won't play. I would say that all of these videos will be online at the end of this process, so you can go back and imagine yourselves back in this room and think about how great that video actually was. The main point of this, though, is not so much to do with the video itself. It's to do with the live or recorded content. So being able to have tools to take content. So as I said, one of the key things is to be able to have audio content that gets sucked in. So you can take a document and put it in. That's easy enough. But there are also tools that Amazon and all these other people have to be able to take content from an audio file or from a video or from a live classroom. And I really hope this one's going to work. And in order to do that, bear with me, I'm just going to restart this presentation because it's clearly... in order to do that, live demonstrations, what a laugh. Okay. So I'm going to talk about being able to transcribe content. So being able to take an audio file or a classroom or a live presentation like this one, and being able in real time to capture that information and to be able to transcribe that into a format that can be searched.
So one of the things that I want to talk about here today is an understanding of artificial intelligence, an understanding of machine learning, and an understanding of some of the things that make it complicated to differentiate between the two. Both of them are complicated subjects. However, nowadays, there are a whole plethora of tools out there which enable you to leverage and make use of the skills and powers that have been put into a system by data engineers, data scientists, and magicians.
So you can see it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. And immediately you've got this content here. This content's then searchable. It's available to be able to be used in different places. and it's available for us to be able to put into our content repository to start to channel down and to find people. And again, you know, this is an automated process. I know there was the quote about automation earlier on, but this is a process that happens, so you can actually record things live. But you can also take massive historical video footage or live footage. So this is a short video which is from our Blog Talk series. This is a series we have online. You can find it by searching for Blog Talk on YouTube. So here is, I'm just going to play a minute of it.
You're a project manager. You have your method of choice, and you couldn't imagine doing it any other way. Which one has captured your heart? Waterfall? Scrum? I'm here to tell you, you're doing it wrong. This is Blog Talk.
Okay. So this is a little video, and I want to do a couple of things with this video. I want to understand the text, and I want to be able to capture the context. So I want to be able to tell, save information about all the things that are in that video. What's in that particular video? So what I'm going to do, and again, this is all online. You can go in, you can do this. You don't need any technical skill really to be able to do it. All I'm doing is I'm pointing this towards the video file that's there. And once I pointed it towards the video file that's there, it's going to run off and it's going to analyze the text. It's going to understand all of the text that's in there, and it's going to feed it into a way that can then become part of my online corpus of content. And that's important because, as we'll see towards the end, I'm then able to go through and to track that process and to be able to use it to drive content and to recognize how people are looking at it. So let's look at the results here. What's also important here is because it's actually applying various algorithms to it, it's basically saying, okay, so I think I'm confident in this, I'm very confident in this, I'm not so confident in that word, I'm not so confident in this particular word here, but it's analyzing
all. So, you're a project manager. You have your method of choice, and you couldn't imagine doing it any other way. Which one has captured your heart? Waterfall? Scrum? I'm here to tell you, you're doing it wrong. This is Blog Talk.
Okay. So that's pretty close. That's pretty close to what it was. And again, if you've got this corpus of information, think about all of the audio and video that's out there that you can do and you can follow through, and you can use that to bring it in. And it's constantly enriching your the content that you've got for your users, and it's documenting itself as it goes through. Likewise, we want to be able to keep historical information because there's a whole bunch of stuff out there that you want to be able to keep, and you don't want to have to transcribe all of these things. So this is really historical. Look at the advert at the bottom, amazon.co.uk, internet bookstore, just gone live. Wow, remember that world. So this is another tool that there is, text extract. This sort of thing has been around for a while, but the important thing here is it's doing the same thing. It's ingesting a piece of content into your underlying system. So it's taking the photo, it's uploading the document, and it's going to turn that into raw text. What you don't see here is it also, behind the scenes, is turning it into raw text because it's treating it as an image. So it's working out where on the page those words are, which is really important when you've got a massive document and you want to target users to a particular place. We've all had e-learnings where actually the piece of information they want is on page 77. And you have to troll through the whole thing to get to it. So this is where this sort of thing comes in really, really useful here as well. Okay, and it's not just here. There's another practical example of this. You can see here this is picking up individual phrases and so on. And behind the scenes, it also semantically joins things so that it starts to make sense of these phrases in context as well, as we'll see when we look at the search at the end. Likewise here, we have a Dust Manager Hoover manual from 1980. And it has images and so on that need to be pulled out and understood. And the same process can be applied to this, to be able to treat images and text in the same way to get a really good context from this document. So we go through the same process, we upload it, the system is reading in, is understanding, is analyzing, is generating context from it, and at the end of the day, we get the same results that come out here again. Okay. So we're using, we're teaching, we're allowing the machine to teach the corpus of knowledge underneath what's what, and we're doing it by ingesting content that's self-documenting the whole time. Now there's one last piece of the self-documenting content that I want to just draw your attention to, which is the ability to get visual information. So an awful lot of information we do now is click, Snapchat, selfie, blah, blah, blah. It's getting visual information, whether it's from video or whether it's from an image. And being able to analyze that is also really important. So let's go back to our video of the blog talk. I'm going to scrub through this very quickly. And you can see all the things that are in here. We've got the roof of one of our offices. We've got fire trucks parked outside another of our offices. We've got Melissa here talking away. And then she's got some glasses on. She's got some plants in there. And then, in a minute,
Everyone gets excited when agile is mentioned.
Agile? I love agile.
okay. So
But did you know?
The point here about these guys is we're trying to identify people in a video as well as everything else. So we're now analyzing the video here, and you can see immediately it's pulled out that there are 3 different people in the video. It's pulled out a whole bunch of information, and when we go down a bit further, you'll see there Mike on the left, who's now highlighted. This is telling us that Mike is at this point in the video. It's allowing us to locate specifically things in the video. So think about this. Think about, I've got a 4-hour video about a car being repaired, and actually what I'm interested in is just the catalytic converter, assuming you've got one. And at that point, being able to identify those things very precisely in the video allows things to be targeted much more. And it's the same process. It's the same image recognition, analysis, and so on that's been done before. Here we can see it's found a truck in there. Let's have a look and see if it's got it to the right place. Video. Yep, there we go, fire truck. It's found the right place. It's contextualized that video for us just by analyzing. And again, this is stuff that's there. You can do it. You can generate it. This is generating content into what Amazon calls a bucket, and anyone else would call a folder, which is your big corpus of search information that's in there as well. Same thing here, sunglasses. Well, she didn't have sunglasses, but you'll see that it's picked the moments when lights are reflecting on her glasses. So it's pretty intelligent in the way that it can handle things. And this is generating for me a whole series of information about this video, which coupled with the transcript that came on earlier on, has given me a very rich and very detailed corpus of knowledge that I can actually use or it can use by documenting itself, to be fed into either a search engine or to be fed into a strategy for pushing content of a certain nature to various different people in there. And you'll see it's been able to pick out a roof in there as well, relatively well. I think there's one more. Yeah, the sunglasses we see here. The plant, sorry. Picks all the points where there's a plant, should you be interested in searching for plants. Okay. And obviously this is it picks out as well the people who are in the video and identifies them. And if they're celebrities, it will also recognize them. You can also train it to recognize specific people, should you want to, with all of the ethical questions that raises as well. Okay, so we've got all of this knowledge and all of this information. That's brilliant. And it gives us, it takes us again to the other part of the perfect circle. It's got to be easy to discover, it's got to be peer-reviewed, or at least commented on by your peers, and it's part of a system which dynamically grows. So this is a tool called, again, this is Amazon's version, AWS Kendra. Basically, it pulls all the content together, making it simple to search while at the same time allowing curation, peer comment, and integration. So I'm going to go through this quite quickly. Basically, it's very easy to set up. Again, it's just a series of steps that you follow through. You can add different sources of data. We're adding the bucket, which is all of the content we've generated from text, from scanning, from video, from audio, and all of those things. All of that content gets added in. And then you're able to add in, also incidentally worth mentioning here, you can also link it to your SharePoint, so you can use historical data and to other databases as well. And then the important point about this one really is that what you're able to do once you've generated your content is, and again, it's just clicking through a few things, you then have a robust search that you can use. But it's not just a search, because what this is doing at the same time is searching, and this is searching all the content. You'll see here it's picking out our transcript here and so on. It's picking out the text from you'll see in a moment, from the Hoover manual. The important point here is it's not just pulling this information out, it's also at the same time understanding the way in which people search. It's growing and tweaking. It has a whole series of algorithms underneath it, which is improving the text, which is improving the categories underneath, and it can be specified to specific groups and groups of users, which is also very important. You see here, it's now picking out the air filter controller there. But the final things on here are that you also have built in the ability to improve the quality, to rate the quality of the response that it's given for its relevance, but not just its relevance to you specifically here. And therefore, once it starts to match with the profile that you have in the background and your usage patterns, it starts to suggest, just like Google does, more comprehensive results for you as well. But it goes a bit further than that, because obviously as the curator of this content, you don't just want to throw it out into the wild. You also want to be able to promote certain content or certain types of content. So you're able to do this by giving weightings to different categories, different document titles, different file types, different sources of origin, so places that are different sources of origin have more validity. You can also make it more heavily weighted depending upon how recent it is. You can have it heavily weighted depending upon how many other people have viewed this, and so on and so forth as well. Now, immediately, this starts to generate really good results. It also learns questions over time. So as you have a what question, a why question, or how can I question, it starts to develop a series of results which again are mapped to specific content, which is all of that content you've created before. So I'm running slightly shy of time, so I'm just going to skip over towards the very last piece here. As I say, there are a couple of things here which are quite interesting, but I want to just draw attention to the very last piece here, which is that all of this is great, but it's just a glorified content search, except it's not, because of all of the stuff that's going on under the hood, all of the way in which the system is learning as it's being utilized. But also, there is another piece here called SageMaker, and this one requires a little bit more, it's a little bit less drag and drop than these, but it's not much more complicated. And what this allows is for the profiles to be built based upon the success factors. So where somebody has successfully completed a task, and then this builds up into a whole machine learning corpus of knowledge, which effectively allows you to predict and begin to predict what are likely to be successful paths for people to follow. Now this is also comes back to the statement of, while people are not doing AI, the fact is you have to build up so much data. You have to build up so many patterns and really begin to understand them before you can start to make decisions and so on based on that. So all of this, I think, is I would say all of this is that first step. It's that internet at 14.4 kilobits per second. We used to, most of you are too young, but you remember where you used to have to kind of, it would connect and it would go really slowly. This is kind of that piece of it as well. That is what this is. This is the early steps. There's so much out here that can be done with for anybody who's not technically experienced. Almost everything that we've done here, seen today, can be done and can be used to generate and enrich your learners' content for virtually no budget here, self-documenting and so on. But then if you want to take it to the next stage, you have tools like SageMaker, which allow you to start to really predict and bring out more data from that. Phew. So I'd like to say thank you for listening to my part of the presentation. You can follow me on Twitter. That's my email address. We're on LinkedIn. We're on YouTube, and of course we're on Facebook and everywhere else as well, YouTube and so on. We're going to take questions at the end of the session, if that's all right with everybody. And so I think I'm going to hand over now to, and I'm sorry about the first video. Really, you should go online and watch it because it's the best video of the whole lot. I'm going to hand over now to Francisco to carry on.
So I'm not a technologist, as you understand. I work in human resources. I'm deeply, deeply sorry for that. Nobody's perfect. So the idea that I had today is to bring you in a science fiction trip. Okay? So do you like time travel? I hope you do, because I will try to, get to time travel with me to 2017, so not so far away. In 2017, I'm the leader of learning and development operations in Europe for Procter & Gamble since 10 years. And this is what is learning and development at P&G for me in my head. It's a fantastic place where people are learning. They're very agile. You see they have sneakers there. And they are very happy and focused, and they say it to me in my reports. So they complete a questionnaire at the end of each session of learning, and you can see that the most of the learning happens in the classroom, because that's what's happening in a multinational corporation. And they are very focused. And these high numbers that they give it to me, despite of the fact that the breakfast is becoming more frugal every day, because I have to save money, of course. If you are interested, then I can discuss with you about the elements that are making together how large is the breakfast with the training results. It's a very interesting correlation that I found over years. But since that is my idea of learning, and what is happening is in my head is fantastic and perfect, somebody says to me, Manto, this is the way they call me in the company. So, hey Manto, what about design thinking session? That's the face of Manto when you say something he doesn't know about at all, and he's just going to Google to understand, what is that, but he doesn't want to disappoint you, so he says like, yes, of course, especially if it comes from one of the people working for you. So one of the people working for me, a lady, says to me, Manto, what about a design thinking session to understand what really learners want and how do they want to learn? Which I know it, because I have this picture in my head of them in a classroom, fantastically happy, with a very small breakfast. So I get on Google, and I try to understand what is design thinking. And this is the definition of IDEO. If you don't know them, probably they are the inventors of this, okay? So they invented design thinking. How many of you know design thinking, and what is that? Okay, good, that's a good number. Okay, for those of you who don't know, design thinking is simply a way to design stuff. So it's used to design tools and applications, and it's also used to design, stuff that you have in your kitchen and you use every day. Designers use it to understand mainly, and many other things, but mainly what user wants, what they need, okay? So they say to me, just apply this to learning. This is the definition of IDEO. You see, it's a human-centered approach to innovation. It seems to be very, very cool. So in the moment I understand it is, I say, yes, of course we do it. That's what IDEO says about design thinking. This is the way I experience design thinking. Okay, so I made 2 sessions, and after that I decided to stop. In the 2 sessions, we invited users of P&G to tell what they think about learning. That's exactly the reaction. So it was like 4 days, 2 days and 2 days, one in Spain, another one in France. Probably the one in France, I should not have done it, but it's okay. In which they were allowed to say whatever they thought about learning at P&G. And despite my fantastic results, they said something like the opposite. It's boring, he never addresses what I want. So of a session of 3 days, the only piece that is interesting is 30 minutes, and I cannot go out of the classroom after that. No, they can't, of course. I mean, we are in a corporate situation, so you're not allowed to go away. So they vomit to me an enormous amount of things that do not work. So that's more or less my face, and my morale is going down. But what's just interesting is that they also say to me something that I didn't know. This is what they want. In the 2 sessions, 40 different people, 20 and 20, from 2 different states, completely different in age, seniority, in the background at work. Some of them, they come from information technology, some others come from sales, some others come from product supply. So they're very different each other. Some have got 25 years of experience, some others have got 3. In one of the sessions, I had a new hire from 7 days in the company, okay? These people, in 2 different sessions, they don't know each other, they say to me exactly the same thing, which is, they want that. No, not the guy. They want the, sorry, that's Mrs. Procter. And they asked me to put it on the slide so that, they pay my salary at the end of the month. They want a personalized coach. And what is important is that they want a personalized coach who is not a human being. They want something like a machine. Why? Because they don't want to get somebody to tell them what they are missing, what they don't have. What is the next step in career that maybe they will not want to pursue, okay? So they want a machine, something that is like neutral, something that doesn't know, something that knows but doesn't know who I am, what I'm doing, what I'm telling, what I'm willing to do or not willing to do. They want this personalized application to give them suggestions of what to learn next, and ideally also what to do next, okay? Well, that's interesting, that's what they want. So because of that, I start to understand what's the problem. And you say, Manto, you have been supposed to talk about artificial intelligence. You have been naming artificial intelligence 0 times so far. That's because the problem is that we don't start with the artificial intelligence. We start with a user need. So we try to understand what a user wants. And this is the first lesson. If you don't have a need, then you don't need artificial intelligence. If you have a need, then it may be artificial intelligence is the answer. And still I don't know, because maybe it doesn't exist, right? We discussed it doesn't exist. So there is a problem to solve. The problem we have at the moment in time is this. People say to me, we have too many sources, we don't have time, and we don't know what to learn next. And the solution we want is the one you've seen. So what do we do? Say, okay, We go on the market. We search for one of the best companies around working with artificial intelligence. They do one specific thing. They do recommendations. So they recommend learning based on the learner profile. Sounds like something that we know about, you know, an application giving you suggestions of what to learn next based on who you are, based on what you prefer. That's perfect. It matches. So we launch it, and we launch it with like a philosophy, total democracy. You know, we will not, the artificial intelligence will tell you everything. We will not in any way manipulate the artificial intelligence. It will be completely freedom. You know, at P&G, this is like revolutionary for you that you don't know. So we were looking for success. You see like the Oscar statue, I was waiting for that. So we discovered something. The first thing we discovered is that I don't know if it's an artificial intelligence or not. I really don't know. I'm not a technologist. I cannot understand it. I know only one thing. It's smart. Because you can see there, more or less the data that we have got so far. We have 17,000 users on this platform. And more or less, you know, they learn only all about competency, which is like digital fluency, from all around the world. The data that we have is this. From every time they open one of the assets we recommend to them, there are 600 assets on the platform. 64% of the time they launch it, which means they read the description and they decide that maybe it makes sense for me. Then, of the 64%, 27% of the time, they are going to accomplish that. So they completed that. Next question could be, oh, how does it relate to your LMS? It's better we don't say it, right? Much better if I don't say that. The funny thing is that number increases. So the more the machine keeps learning about the profile of the users, and the more it provides them a recommendation that in theory fit in better, that number goes up. 27, 29, at some point in time it is 32%, and you start thinking that is cool. So for every 3 times that somebody is on something, you think that, you know that they are going to learn at least, you know, one time they are going to complete that, which is something quite astonishing for somebody working in my area. It's very, very difficult, it happens. Now, something we discover anyhow is that doesn't make people happy. We start to make focus groups. We are user-centered, right? So we start to make focus groups. And the people say to us, hey, thank you for the freedom. Can you give me more focus? It's like, okay, gosh. Okay, so we built an artificial intelligence to bring you recommendation in total freedom, you know. And, okay, so they want more focus than what we give. Then we made not focus groups, but we make questions with leaders. And leaders say, look, democracy is great, but we know what we want them to learn. This is a parenthesis, you know, it's like brackets. So, my entire reason why I started to do this is because I was sick of having leaders of different businesses coming to me and telling to me, Manto, these are the 10 things I want my people to learn about. And me making this rhetoric, stupid question, why? And them telling me the fantastic answer. Look, we have this lady, we have this guy, we have this whatever, an alien, who has been learning that, and after this, they had like incredible results. And because of that, I want to apply to everybody else, which is perfect, right? It's personalization. So you understand that it works for this person, it will work for everybody. First reason. Second reason, that is a little bit more subtle. It works for me, it will work for them. So I'm a leader, I learned something, I think it's great, so it has to work for them as well, which is a fantastic reason for somebody working in learning and development, right? Then after a few months, when nobody is looking at the content they wanted to propose, they come back to me and they say, your platform doesn't work. So like, okay, so is the platform that doesn't work? Are you sure? Because I mean, the platform is very simple. They click on that, they look at the content, if they like it or not, you know, they completed that. That's what it does, right? So I was sick about that. So I tried to make something that is a little bit more less biases, you know, it doesn't have biases, it doesn't have personal ideas. But when talking to leaders, they come back and they say, oh, this is fantastic, it's great, I love it. Oh, Manto, just one question. Can we have on top of the page, you know, the landing page, really on top, can we have my picture with something like 3 or 4 recommendations for myself? It's about, okay, recommendations from yourself are done by the artificial intelligence, so algorithmic. No. My recommendations, you know, something that I say them to learn. And this is like not changing. So every leader you go, they ask you this thing after the, you know, first question. First question is this one. So we discovered something. the artificial intelligence is ready. It can make a lot of stuff. It's fantastic, especially when it comes to recommendation of learning, which is a very difficult area. Is a very good tool. The problem is that humans may be not yet ready, which means then on one side, they really are bombarded by so many information that they want much less than what we are ready to give it to them. And sometimes not even the artificial intelligence can help them, because they are supposed to know and to understand how does it work and to understand what is the right thing, right? What is the right thing to do after. And the second thing is because people who work around them, the leaders, the managers, the people surrounding to them, have expectations that are different than the reality. Reality is they need to learn to make a job or to increase their performance. The expectation is that you learn what I say, which is a completely different one. It doesn't bring in the same place. So that's second lesson. Another lesson is about the way to implement. This is Procter & Gamble. We know everything since 180 years. This is like basically the mantra of the company. We know everything. Everything is done outside, doesn't exist because after 5 seconds, we have done it before. Now, one of the problems is that we are very scared by privacy. So I'm Italian, I'm not German, but every time we try to implement something in these days, it's like, have you been discussing with Germany? As first thing. Then the second is about, have you been discussing with California? Because California now is on the same path, right? So the first thing we did was, hey, dearest friends, I'm sorry about all this fantastic data you want to bring to us, but we want to implement this artificial intelligence in a way that is completely anonymous. Which the face of the vendor is one of these images that I would like to have been recording for my future and for my kids. I think it would be a fantastic opportunity to let them understand. So okay, we can do it. And we implemented that anonymously. And here is the lesson. So we started with making recommendations in total anonymity, and our engagement, so the number of people returning, unique users returning every month, was around 12%. When we were very, very lucky, it was 12.5%. The moment we decided to eliminate this rule and to make it non-anonymous, we discovered two things. The first one is that users don't care. So we said about, we are taking away anonymity, I'm sorry. And they said, oh, really? Oh, that's cool, thank you. And they run away. And the second thing we discovered is that there was an immediate increase in engagement, up to 18%. Because people told to us in the focus groups, you need to remind me. Okay, I don't have time, Manto. I don't even remember the link of this stuff. So please send me emails every day so that I remember I need to learn. And then I will go there. No, we don't send them email every day. We send them email from time to time, right? And we try to make it in a way, we will have soon also in the email possibility to personalize the recommendation, so to give them a recommendation that is really about themselves. It's not a general reminder to go on the platform, but it's really about you yourself, you could learn this, okay? So that's the idea, and it works very well. Now, so it's about a transformation, so by end reason, a butterfly needs to be there. A couple of discoveries. The first one, some data seems to be stupid, but apparently they are not. So one of the first things that we found by analyzing the data was that the learner wanted to learn on a Tuesday at lunchtime. This was fantastic because most of our people in the company were convinced that people wanted to learn on a Friday. Don't ask me why. So the point is that I thought it was completely useless information. When I'm talking with my customer, they say, gosh, that's why. We continue to send them stuff on a Monday morning and nobody does it. What does it happen if we start to send to them on a Tuesday afternoon? It works. So in things like that, the number of times they react, especially if it's an email, is much higher. It's quite a double in reality in some programs. So it's a discovery that we never did before. And you may ask, Manto, but it was simple. You could analyze the data from your LMS. Okay, good luck. The other one is that we make curation. So the platform is made in a way that every single item is curated. 600 items, they have been curated by subject matter experts. Internal subject matter, of course, I mean, we are Procter & Gamble, we know everything. So it's internal people. Now, what we discovered is that sometimes the users are much better than the experts. The story is this one. Somebody calls me on an evening, and somebody is the chief learning officer of the company, saying, Manto, you need to take away immediately one of the items from the platform. Say, why? Because this is against our diversity. is against our inclusion policies. How is possible? So, well, very simple. The article talks about productivity tips from something like 28 or 30 famous people in the history. Now, it happens that 26 out of 28 are men, and that the only 2 women in the staff, they're not necessarily like, you know, people that are like well regarded. So I look back at the article, I was not the one selecting that, and I noticed in fact that it's quite strange. I mean, it's a quite strange article. It's okay, fine, it's an external article. So while I go on the platform, before to ask to remove it, I just look at the response of the users. Well, it's very interesting. This is the #1 article the users have been telling is not useful at all. #1. In the entire 600, that is the #1. It was just after 4 or 5 weeks after the launch. And if I look at all the others, so all the others that the users said they are not helpful, they are all about broken links. They don't work for some reason. There is a problem in the article. It's not connected very well with the competency and things like that. So far, at the moment in time, as we talk, the most of the times, whenever a curator or somebody from the subject matter expert team comes to me, the most of the times they just say something that the users will be spotting. The final 2 things that are also interesting. The platform hosting internal content, external content. Some of the external content is paid, so it's something we have license for. Some others are things that we don't have license for. So it's something that is free on the internet or that is offered by free by some association and institutions. The funny thing is that once you have all the data and you can really look into that, what the users really want and how they are making on the platform, you can understand which providers work and which providers do not work. So the next time that you're sitting in front of them and they want to renew the contract, and they say to you amazing numbers about the engagement of users with their content, you look at your numbers and you say, okay, maybe my users are different, but the engagement with your stuff of my users is not the one that you think. Don't ask me, please, where is P&G content in this ranking, okay? So it would be much better. My bank was asking me really not make ensure that people not making this question for my mortgage, just for that. The other thing is that there are very simple things that are really, really changing the relationship of the user with the content. Simple, stupid things, like for example, the title. We never thought about that. You know, when we publish internally content for our users, we say CBD level 1, proficiency standard. That's a course. And people have to go there, click on that, and do it, right? But when you discover that good content has got also good presentation and is spelled in a way that is not only telling you what is inside, but also why you should be interested about that in a way that is really like Facebook or YouTube, and then you discover that it works, that's very interesting. And the same it happens for example, competency description. I have a competency description that is like 6 or 7 words made by us. It has got a level of engagement that is below 2%. The same category made by our vendor with their own words has got something like 12 or 13% of engagement depending on the month. The reality is that just knowing what is the kind of words that people want to hear is much better than just being a learning expert and knowing the right word for that competency, which doesn't work for the user because they don't study learning, right? They just are learners. They try to learn about the stuff they are interested about. Last thing is, despite this artificial intelligence, despite it can give you an enormous amount of data, search still is one of the most interesting things all over. Via search, the users are telling to you stuff that they are not even knowing. So they tell you really a lot of insights that you would not be able to capture if you interview them. A simple one. You have a category, and you have like a competency within a model. And you see that people clicking on items in this category, they search for stuff that is not necessarily related to that. So I have process simplification, and people searching within that, vast majority, more than 40%, agile, which is something like, okay, so it's not the place where I categorize that stuff, okay? So my categorization is different. So you start to understand how they think and how they search for stuff, and you can help them by categorizing things differently, which is one interesting stuff. The other thing is that you start discovering by looking at the numbers of the clicks via the suggestions and via the search, that several times the suggestions of the artificial intelligence, if it exists, they are much better than the one of the search. So they search things and they are not completely satisfied, while the artificial intelligence suggests something and they seem to be more satisfied. So the ratio, the funnel of launch to complete is much higher. And also the response rate on this was useful is much higher. These are all things, as I said, I'm not a technologist, so I cannot understand what is the algorithm behind. They tried it, they tried to explain to me that I don't get it. But I can understand from the user response if it's something helpful. And because the issue at the beginning was, we have a problem, we want you to solve it, I can tell that at a moment in time is the best thing we have done so far, it's a pilot, is the best thing we have done so far to solve that problem. I'm sure that with more data, it will get better. And this is the last lesson I learned. So far, you imagine, I have 17,000 people on that platform. They do things every day. But if I'm very, very lucky, every month I get something like 3,000 people back on the platform, okay? That's what it happens. This amount of data is not sufficient to make it like, you know, a bomb in recommendations. Not today. It could take years with that read to get better. It's not like Spotify or Netflix, right? It's not the same. They have million users. We don't have million users, and I cannot force people to learn every single day. I would like to do that, but I can't. So the point is, recognize also the limits of artificial intelligence and being able to explain to internal customers. Because if they come to me like it happened yesterday evening, telling to me, hey, look at the first recommendation on my landing page. It doesn't resonate to me. How it's possible? The artificial intelligence is failing. And then the answer is, yeah, maybe you could be agile, and you could look for the second or the third. Maybe they fit you in some way. You know, it's just on the right, very easy. That element is something that people not yet understand. In science fiction, somebody said some time ago that sometimes technology is so incredible that people do not understand the difference of technology with magic, with magician. That's what artificial intelligence is for the most of the users I've got in the company. But the other good thing is that via this, they are starting to discover what's that, and also the limits, of course, of the current implementation. That's it. Thank you.
I love that we've just finished with the statement that artificial intelligence is magic and that we are magicians. I'm having that. That's great. I think we've had some really interesting case studies there. I hope that's given you some food for thought. We've got about 15 minutes for questions, and then you're out the door at 5 o'clock. Has anybody got any questions that you'd like to pose for Francesco or for Matt? There we go. I will come to you, sir.
So it seems like you're focusing very much on kind of self-directed learning, that kind of stuff. Absolutely fantastic. How would you incorporate a need to have people train for requirements that might be risk to life in that kind of self-curated journey of learning? So how do you get effective compliance, I suppose, with vital outcomes for your organisation? Or how might you do that if it's not relevant to your own, perhaps?
So I think it's all about all of the things that we were talking about, or I was talking about, was about the tools to deliver things. I don't think that takes away, especially in something which is compliance-based, I don't think that takes away from the need to have content that is defined and curated, and ultimately, you know, I assume that in that scenario, your marker of having, it's not so much the taking of the content, it's the output, the exam at the end, or the test at the end, or the, you know, that piece of it would still remain the same. I think, you know, what artificial intelligence does is it gives you the ability to make the funnel bigger and still include kind of required documentation, required reading, and so on. But it means that you have the ability to supplement it. It means that you have the ability to track better the outcomes that come through, but you still have to have, in that particular case, you still have to have the kind of the end point, which is a formal or informal assessment, I think, to judge the value of that learning, I would say.
For me, the answer in these days has come with digital credentials, so with badges. having an opportunity to have two tools like that, so something like recommendations via an artificial intelligence being completely free and opening also the mind of people on what they can learn next. And then near to that, badges, which is much more mandatory and prescriptive in telling to people, well, if you want to achieve this, you need to know A, B, C, and D. This is a good strategy to make like the two sides of the moon to work, with a nuance possibly, which could be if we could implement badges and digital credentials in a way that an artificial intelligence can scan your profile and tell upfront if you have already some elements of that, without having you to, to make the entire path. But you as a learner, you already know A, B, and C, so you just need to learn the others in order to get a badge. That probably would be like something that the user would appreciate a lot. But at the moment in time, I think that these two elements can, complement very well each other.
Thank you, gents. Anybody else have another question for Matt or Francesco? Ooh, furthest away you could possibly be.
We can hear you.
Did you all hear that?
Yeah.
Yep. Good. Thank you.
The answer for me is yes, we found, which was like something that adaptive assessments. So the ability of some assessments to adapt to the learner as they go through, which is a very interesting technology. I have to say, we decided not to implement that for a very simple reason. We wanted to have a learner who is really looking for continuous learning. We have the impression, it could be an impression, so it's not like a study I did or whatever. We have the impression that whenever we have an assessment, we give the learner the impression that there is a 100% of learning I can reach. So if I am more or less like 70, I'm fine, which is something that could be like destroying the entire architecture. Our architecture at the moment in time is to tell to learners, you like it or not, you will have to learn for your entire life. Otherwise you become obsolete in probably 18 months. So I'm sorry. But there is not like an assessment to tell you where you are. Go and learn. Not necessarily is the right answer because the learners don't like it, just to be honest. So they want to have an assessment.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can, like from a technical point of view, you can relatively simply turn a training needs analysis format into something which is dynamic and generates content based on that. But that's much more a kind of rules-based system. Where you are assuming that because somebody has piece of knowledge X, they also have piece of knowledge Y. So I think there are restrictions on how effective that, at least with technology is at the moment. You almost need a deeper level of understanding, which is that, if you are able to exhibit this question or answer this question, the chances are that there are a whole range of other activities that need, and I don't think it's as linear as going, and this is the example you're giving, where you have a form that is, you answer question 1, and so if you've answered question 1 or you've done point 1, you don't have to do 2 and 3. To me, that's where the technology is at the moment, but it's not fluid enough to account for people's different learning styles and different styles. So, I think ultimately the technology exists to be able to study massive numbers of learners and understand their journey through an organization. But and this is where I would agree with the keynote, that stuff is not really being done at the level it needs to be. The answer to your question is probably that's where it wants to be, but there aren't many examples out there at the moment of that happening. But on a simpler level, the TNA that's being turned into an automated form, that does exist quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So work in progress. Any more questions for Matt or Francesco? In which case, I would encourage you, if anything occurs to you, or you want to further comment, or you want to connect with Matt or Francesco, you could use the hashtags. There's a hashtag up there on the sheet for this particular session, which is hashtag T1S6, track 1, session 6. And you've always got good old hashtag LT20 UK. Both Matt and Francesco are on Twitter at Franmant. and at the Virtual Forge. So if you want to continue the discussion or you want to know more, I'm sure you guys are happy to continue that.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, I hope you found that a useful session, worth staying on for the graveyard shift. I believe there's a drinks reception before you go, if you're not rushing for a train. I know Francesco has to dash, so we'll throw a bottle at you on the way out. But for now, we're done. I hope you've had a good conference. Thank you very much. And if you would please, your appreciation for Francesco Mantovani and Matt Wicks.
Thank you.